Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over, we're going to do NASCAR soon, but for now we're going to do the MMA slate for tonight. Really, really big card, several championship fights, and Millie Maker. And I want to go over my approach to this week, and you'll see me actually kind of tweak my lineups right now. So there's a couple of themes that I want to kind of highlight that I think are actually pretty important in no particular order. First thing I kind of focused in on was this, and this is these are the odds according to Vegas Insider, and one thing that stood out to me was the Ozdemir Prochazka fight is clearly the fight that is most likely to be finished within the distance. So this is an over-under 1.5 rounds made as minus 150. Clearly the one that rates to finish the earliest. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do, is make sure that I really get pretty much that fight in every single lineup. I don't have a really strong opinion on the actual winner, so I'm probably just going to go 50-50 there. Right? That is one thing that's one theme I want to kind of highlight. Another thing I want to highlight is this. There are basically three kind of live long shots. And this is kind of a summary of all the content I've looked at and all my analysis and all of everything. There are three three non-favorites that are going to be gathering almost all of the ownership. So it's really important to figure out which of those you're going to want to use and which of them you can, you want to fade, because you're probably going to have to use at least one of them to make the rest of your lineup work. And I don't want to go over all of this, but suffice it to say, to try to not have any of them and still get the guys that you want in your lineup is very, very difficult. So the three guys that I'm referring to are Holloway and Aldo and Andres. And I'm going to butcher these names, I apologize. Jessica Andrade. And I want to analyze those three because I think that understanding what those three are all about is really, really important. I'm going to get back to that. The other thing I'd like to do is I want to highlight probably one or two guys that I really want to slam and lock in. And then I also want to give one kind of leverage fight. Now, the leverage fight that I want to identify is this first fight of the day, Day and Grant. I don't know what it is, but people really like to load up on these later fights, probably because they're better fights. So these early fights usually tend to go very unowned, and I'm definitely going to, as you see me kind of spread out my lineups here, you're going to see me get some of this Day and Grant fight. I think that they're going to be maybe between 15 to 20% owned, so if you can get one of those to click, I think you're going to be in good shape. So let's go back to these three long shots or underdogs. Masvidal in the main event, Aldo in the secondary main event, or one of them, and actually there are four of them. Holloway in this main event, they're all going to take money, and also Andrade's. Andrade against Naman, not going to play you. Let's put it that way. So, first one is, let's talk about Masvidal for a second. Again, I'm not the biggest expert on the techniques of MMA or the analysis of the techniques, but I don't know. I've been doing, sports betting and this type of thing and stock analysis and gauging public sentiment for a long time. And, all I can tell you is people are just going well out of their way to play Masvidal. I guess people really like him. They like him as a dude. He's one everybody likes to root for. And for whatever reason, nobody really likes Usman as like a person, I suppose. And so people, when they announced that Masvidal was going to be fighting, people were just literally trampling over themselves to go bet him. Just because they want him to win, I suppose. But for me, that with that type of steam coming to him, I think that Usman's probably just like a stone lock. He's probably just going to win in the first round. He'll probably be able to take him down as much as he wants, and the people that bet Masvidal are going to be, what the hell did I just do? And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen, but I do think that the ownership is going to be much higher than his chances of succeeding. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not going to be playing any of Masvidal. The other guy, the other two of the main event, I think are very different, and this is what I'm getting at. So Holloway, it looks to be about a 40% owned guy, and Aldo might end up being pretty popular. So here's the difference between these two types of underdogs. So Holloway, what makes him interesting is that if in fact he loses, there's a chance that he just puts enough volume out there and makes it through 4 rounds or so. And if he takes it the distance, he can score enough in the loss to pay off his price tag. So the upside, obviously, if he can win, that's great. But even if he loses, you might be able to get that done. Whereas the difference is Aldo is really reliant on his punching power and being able to attack Jan early. So if he does not, win by knockout pretty early or in the first 2 rounds or so, the chances that he can, the chances that he wins or is good for your lineup in the absence of that is very, very slim. So, if Aldo doesn't win, he might just get crushed in the first 2 rounds and never really have a chance to pay off your price tag at all. So that's one thing you have to consider between Holloway and Aldo is what type of risk you're willing to take. Now the other underdog, Andre, it's a very, very interesting bit of psychology at work here. So these two fought before, and Andre won, and yet she's still the underdog. And the majority of the people that are analyzing this fight are telling me, or telling themselves, whatever, that all that happened was Rosa was dominating her, and she just kind of got lucky. But that's not the way life works. From what I heard, she actually made some changes and turned the thing around. And the fact of the matter is that she's still the underdog, and I think that she's very, very live. The only difference again is that she's it's only a 3-round fight, so she's not going to be able to pay off her tag unless she wins, right? I mean, not even remotely. So what it comes down to is how many of those and how you prioritize those. So for me, what I did, as I mentioned, is I'm not playing any of Masvidal for the reasons I mentioned. And I'm not going to play Holloway, and part of it is because maybe I'm being roped into this, but I am fully into this whole narrative with Holloway, that he apparently has not been training, he's been jerking around on Zoom, just being like a social media dude and not really taking this fight seriously. And Volkanovski is just a freaking beast. I mean, he really has been looking for this fight, and even Holloway is saying, man, you wanted this fight more than me. And you know what? The fact is that he could come out and crush. He needs to make a statement, and he's not screwing around with anybody. He might just come out and kill and destroy. And the fact that I like him a lot, it also gets you good leverage, right? Because at the same time, you have a good favorite that you like, and you're getting leverage against a popular underdog. So as opposed to, say, if I was going to go against Andre, I don't really like Rose Namajunas that much. So it's not like I'm getting double leverage by taking her and fading Andre. So Holloway is another one, even though if you take Holloway, you might be able to survive with a loss. Again, for the stuff I'm playing, maybe in a single entry you can get away with that, but certainly not in the Millie Maker. I just don't see the variation where you can lose the fight and still win the Millie Maker. So that's my initial approach. Is I will take with those guys, and with Aldo, I mean, I think that between Aldo and Andres, I think those are the two live dogs. Okay, because again, I have no problem with the fact that if Aldo loses, I lose, right? Or if he doesn't get the quick knockout or the first 2-round knockout, I lose. That's fine. Or we're trying to play GPPs here, so I don't think I'm going to go all Aldo, So it's going to be a question then of probably whenever I don't play with Aldo, I'll probably play with Andrade, if that makes any sense. Um, the other thing when you look at this lineup here is this kind of a guy I like, Zaleski Dos Santos. He again is not taking that much ownership, and if anything, Salikov's getting more of the ownership. So he's a guy that I like, and probably the guy I'm most feel safest with is Amir Khani. I'm gonna have him in most of my lineups. And just to address a couple of the other guys, there are other fighters here. Rebus is the most likely winner, but just because of the volume she's going to need and the points she's going to need to pay off her price, I'm probably not going to play her. Um, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to spread out these lineups, do a couple of things. I need to get some lineups with Andre and with no Aldo. I need to get some Ozdemir instead of Prochazka, because again, I don't have that strong opinion on Prochazka. I just really like that fight. So I'm probably going to get 50% Prochazka, 50% Ozdemir. And then I'm going to replace some Aldo with Andrade. And then what I'm going to do is try to sprinkle in some of this Day Grant exposure, because again, I think that has a chance to break the slate really, really early. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go through this, and let's just see how this can work out. You'll see that I have about 11 entries or so in the millie, and then I have maybe or 10 entries. Then I have 4 lineups in some of the bigger buy-in, single entries. So let's just go to work. First let's take care of this Aldo business. So we'll take care of Aldo, and then replace Aldo with Andre, okay? And it works. So let's do this, and we'll put this in. Let's put this in half of them, I suppose. So we're gonna go. First, we're going to go, here's this one, here's the single entry, the 3 entry max, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how many are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's fine. So we'll do this. Okay, so we're a little more on Aldo than on Andre, which is fine. We might tweak that a little bit later. So the next thing I want to do is replace the Prochazka with Ozdemir. So let's just see what his price is, so that we don't do this. So he's 8,400. So we probably can only do it in this one we have the money. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take Prochazka out and put in Ozdemir, and probably we should do it in all of them, right? Because this way we're going to be even. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's boom. So now we have 57% Ozdemir, 43% Prochazka. Just to be, I do want to have a little more Prochazka, so let's for now put him back in here. We'll do, just for ownership, we'll put 2 of that. So now we have 43% ownership, 50% Prochazka. Okay, which is fine. Okay, that's enough leverage where I'm kind of okay. I don't want to get too crazy with this. So the next thing I want to do again is I'd like to kind of filter in some of this Grant Day exposure. So what I'd like to do also is probably, I don't really need to go 100% Dos Santos. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to replace some Dos Santos with Arcani, Dos Santos, and maybe or Volkanovski, and then let's just see where this kind of takes us. So let's just edit this one first. So if Santos was 8K, what are we looking for? We're looking for Day and Grant. So let's just see which kind of fits in here. So in this one, see, Day's 8,500 is not going to work, but Grant is fine. So let's take out Santos, and we're going to put in, where'd he go? I want to put Grant in, right? Davy Grant. So put a little bit of Davy Grant in there. So maybe not too many. We'll put in, I don't know, 1, 2. Does that keep that going? All right, good. Okay, so now let's go into maybe this one. We'll take out Dos Santos here, and here we could put in Day, because he works, right? So let's do this. We'll do both of them. Okay. So we have Day 14%, Grant 14%. Do we want to do any more? Maybe. So let's see what would end up happening if we did that. So if we did more Gray and Grants, let's see what ends up happening. So let's say we took out some Maricani, replaced him with Gray. Not with Gray. What's his name? Day. Sorry. So Maricani, get rid of some of him. We'll do this, and we'll leave that the way it is for now. And this one, another Maricani. Put him with Grant. With Day. Good. And one, two of those. Okay. So what do we have now? We have 36. So we could do a little more of Grant. So what we could do is maybe put Grant in instead of Aldo. That would be very, very different. Okay. Is that going to fit? No, it's not quite going to fit. Like Grant is a full 7,700, so he's not going to work. But what you could put him in, could you put him in instead of Andrade? Andrade is 7,200, doesn't quite work there either. Okay, so let's go ahead and instead of Dos Santos, we'll put in Grant over here. Okay. And is that going to be enough? Let me see. If I do one, then I have Grant at 21%, which is good. I have Gray at 36%, which is good. Right? So have I gotten everything that I needed? Yeah, I think so. Right? I'm locked in with Usman and Volkanovski, which is fine. I have a decent amount of Aldo, which is fine, and Andrade also. I don't have any of those other two underdogs. I have a good mix between Ozdemir and whoever. I have a little too much Dos Santos, okay? But, this is my opinion, so we'll see where this goes. So now let's do like a quick lineup check, like this one right here. So two of them are in here. So if I decided that just for the purposes of, of diversification, all right, who can I get if I get rid of Dos Santos here? All right, who I've not gotten any of before. I can get really nothing I really want. So what I might end up doing is taking out a little bit of Volkanovski just for diversification purposes. And since this one doesn't have Aldo in it, I can replace this one with Jan, right? So that makes sense. Okay. So all we're doing is making sure we have no duplicated lineups here. This one, again, same thing. So this one, let's do the same thing maybe with Usman. What can we do if we take Usman out of this one? Since this one doesn't have Andre, we might be able to play a little bit of Namajunas, which works, okay? We don't really like her too much, but so it's between Namajunas or Santos. So we could play some Namajunas here, again, just for diversification purposes and only in the Millie Maker. Okay? Looks good? All right. Now let's see, is this one, what do I have? All right, so this is still 2 in the Millie. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's see what happens if we take out, I don't know, another Volkanovski. Can we get Rebus in this one? Yeah, you can get Rebus in this one. Good for diversification. Okay, it's very safe. This one we have, all right, we only need to change one because this is in 3 different contests. So we'll take out another Usman here and replace Usman with, we could do Rose again over here, right? Or we can go, this one doesn't have Aldo, so we're going to put Jan in here. Very good. Okay. Excellent. And this one right here, we don't need to do anything because we're not duplicated in contests. So just a kind of a quick check of what we have. So again, we're really overweight on Amirkhani, Usman, and Volkanovski. Those are our big plays. Maybe we have a little bit too much of Dos Santos. So you want to do a little bit less? All right, we'll do a little bit less. Let's in this one, just for diversification, we'll take the Santos out. And what can we do? Anybody else we've talked about that we can fit in here? We could go Grishin or Tybura. Yeah, you want to do that for diversification? Earlier fight, let's do that. We'll do one Tybura over here. And again, just in the Millie Maker. Actually, this one we'll do in the single entry. I mean the Millie Maker, sorry. Okay. And then in this DeSantos one over here, we'll leave that one in the Millie Maker. So we'll take him out of this one and replace him with, well, you know what we could do? I mean, you can just go with Solikov. And in case Selesky really blows up, you have at least one lineup with Solikov in it. Okay. So we'll put that in the Millie Maker also. Okay. All right, so we have a full 50% of the Santos, which is fine. And I guess that's it. We're going to come back and do NASCAR in a few minutes, but that's my lineup build for the MMA slate.